Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you're here. Today we are going to be doing some simple sewing tasks that have been piling up in the corner of my bedroom, and I figured what better way to get them done than to have some accountability and motivation and do them with you. So here we are. We have some buttons to sew back on. We have a shirt of my sister-in-law's that has a hole next to the seam. It's a button-down shirt, so we need to try and repair that hole for her. I have a dress that was given to me. The liner under it is a little bit too low cut for me, so I just need to rework that a little bit. And my husband has some shorts that are a bit too big for him, so we're going to take those in and hem them up. Hopefully he'll be able to wear them. So those are the things that we have in store for today while my girls nap. I do want to point out I am in no way a professional. By no means am I an expert. I simply took a home ec class in high school. I have family members that keep a sewing basket stashed in their closet to break out for things just like this, and I've implemented these skills into my home over the last several years. So that's the experience that I'm going off of. Just wanted to make that known. I do not claim that this is the best way or the only way. This is just what I know. This is what's worked for me. So it's not something that I would make money off of. It's simply something that I do to help other people and to help us save money by not having to buy new clothes or by repurposing the ones that we already have. So just wanted to add in that little disclaimer before anybody goes thinking that this is some kind of professional advice that I'm going to be giving. No, we're just sewing together. So I'm so glad you're here. If you're new, my name is Megan and I have two very young girls. One is 2 years old. One is about to be 1 year old. I've always dreamed of being a full-time homemaker, and now I'm getting to live that dream out, and I'm so happy about it. My husband works full-time for us outside of the home. I work part-time at the preschool where my little girls go. It's a half-day program, and then I am home during the afternoon and the evening taking care of my family, which is what I love most. So I'm so glad that you're here. I think this is a dying art in our society today, but I do think that there's a large group of our generation that wants to go back to self-sustainability and that wants to be able to take care of ourselves and the people around us again. So by doing these things, by sewing and mending and cooking and cleaning and gardening and managing home, I think that that's the way to do so, and I'm really excited about being a part of it. So I hope that you find this helpful, if nothing else encouraging. Maybe you already know how to do these things, but here I am to do them alongside of you, and I know that that always encourages me to see other people doing the same things. So it may not be the best, but we're doing our best, right? So that's what it's all about, and I'm just so glad you're here. If you are new, I would love for you to subscribe. I'd love to have you as a part of our community. So let's get to it. Most of my sewing projects, I just use a universal thread, typically white, but if I have something closer to the color of what I'm working on, then I'll use that as well. But white seems to go with a lot of the things that I need to fix around my house. And then I just use universal needles as well. So after I thread my needle, I just double back the end, the long end of the thread, and make a simple double knot in the end. Usually I do that twice so that it doesn't really have a chance to slip through. Now this button in particular has a loop back. It's not like a typical circular button with holes in it. So I could have and maybe should have used something much stronger like an embroidery floss, and I think that's a great option for buttons in general because it's very thick, it's very strong, and it's aesthetically pleasing. But I didn't on this. I simply started from the back, looped through the loop on the back of this button, and then just kept going over, under, and through until it felt like it was secure to me. For dress number 2, you can see a little bit more of how I thread my needle and how I tie off the end of the thread. But on this dress, it's a snap button. So this goes across the chest of my dress. It snaps from one side of the chest to the other. So one snap is on the inside of the dress, the opposite side of the chest, the snap is on the outside of the dress. And I'd actually already tightened the one on the opposite side. So for this video, we are working on the snap that sits on the interior of the dress fabric. So because of that, I didn't want the thread to be seen from the outside of the dress. I started on the inside of the dress and I just scooped my thread into the fabric enough to where it grabbed enough fabric to hold on to, but didn't go all the way through both pieces of fabric that were there. So then after it got a hold of that fabric, there were 4 small little holes around the circle of the snap, and I went around in the circle, and then I went crisscross and just did everything that I could to really make sure that it was secure and strong and not going to go anywhere for quite a while. However, I did have to be sure that I didn't cross over the very middle, because that's where the snap sits in place at. So I didn't want to prevent it from doing its job, of course. What it is about sewing, but for me, that is just where I feel like I feel God so tangibly surrounding me and speaking to me and just reminding my heart of His goodness. That's why I love quilting so much, is because whenever I am, well, first of all, I get to be creative with it, which is always enjoyable, but then I also feel like whenever it's just me and my sewing machine, or I'm doing these tasks that can honestly be quite tedious, it just gives God that space to come in and sit with me, and for me to sit with Him. And I think, although I try my best to have regular times in the morning before the girls wake up and things like that, it can be hard to find the quiet in our daily routines and in our daily tasks. And though we try to create those spaces, it's hard for them to not be interrupted. So for me personally, this is where I find that. Here's the shirt of my sister-in-law's that I was mentioning earlier. It just has this one simple little rip right down the seam, and she did not realize until after she gotten home, had taken tags off, and could no longer return it. So I tried to simply do a straight stitch. I could have done this by hand. If you don't have a machine, that's completely fine, but it is most likely going to be stronger and definitely faster with a machine. So I wanted to give this a try. I just did a straight stitch, and I tried to simply patch that small hole area, but upon doing so, it created a new seam in that one area. So I needed to go ahead and do it along the entire length of the shirt in order for it to be cohesive. So yeah, there was a little bit of gathering, but because the buttons were on the underside of the shirt, I tried it on and you really can't tell at all. Okay, now this dress liner has a lot of back and forth, flipping over and back over and things like that, but it's really quite simple. I just trimmed off about 6 inches, 8 inches maybe from the bottom. It was, the dress comes down slightly past my knees, so it's still, the liner hits right above the knee. And I took that fabric, flipped the dress over, checked that it would look okay on the top, around the chest liner, and I felt like it did. So I really only needed a small portion of that fabric, and it was nice because it already had the hem sewn across the bottom of whenever it was down at my legs. So then I just turned it upside down, and it had a finished hem across the top, which was very nice. Then I just flipped the dress inside out, I pinned it, and then I just sewed it along the arm lines down around the armpit. And I probably could have put a couple more darts like across the bottom, but I didn't. If only things actually happened as quickly as we could explain them, right? Am I right?
When I was lost and hopeless, when I was at my worst, it's grace that you extended that I did not deserve. I am so amazed by all you have done. I cannot explain the depth of your love. Limits can't contain the heart of you, God. I'm amazed at the depth of your love. Your mercy came and found me, gave me a second birth. I'm overwhelmed and grateful. You took what I deserve. I am so amazed by all you have done. I cannot explain the depth of your love. Limits can't contain the heart of you, God. I'm amazed at the depth of your love.
Oh, and I did hem the bottom of the dress liner from where I cut off. But as you can see here, it was a pretty half-hearted job. I knew that it was not going to be seen very much by anyone other than me, and I just really didn't care that much about it at this point. I will say, if this was a dress that I was going to be wearing on a daily basis, like, you know, to do household chores and such, then I would have put a little bit more time and intentionality into making sure that all of these things were secure and in place a little bit better. But this is something that I'll probably just wear on special occasions or to church on Sunday, so it really won't need to be able to withstand a lot of grit.
Love has made a way. Hallelujah. If forever I give thanks. Oh, and I am so amazed by all you have done. I cannot explain the depth of your love. Limits can't contain the.
Alright, so these shorts, I had my husband try them on inside out. That's how big they were on him. And we pinned where they needed to be brought in around the waist, and we rolled up the bottom so that I could create a new hemline so that they wouldn't be so long on him. But let me just tell y'all, I found these shorts for like $5 at the thrift store. They're like Nike golf shorts. I said, those are close enough to his size, I can make it work. I was determined at the store. But by this point, I was running out of steam. I was so tired. And something about, as I took in the sides and took up the hem, the fabric of the shorts, just I could tell something was not right. This was not going to work. And when he tried them back on, although they fit him, they just weren't his style. Something about it looked weird. So I just didn't do a great job on these, but if they had fit him well and he liked them, then I was going to go back and redo several things, but I just knew they were going to be a flop. So 4 out of 5, 80% success. It's not my best work, but you know, knocked it out during nap time. And now my pile has actually already got another item on it ready to restart. But I'm just so grateful that I have family members that trust me with the things that they spent their hard-earned money on, and I just love being someone that they can turn to whenever they need help with things like this. And yeah, I'm so glad that you guys came along with me today in our sewing day. This was so fun, and I hope that this encouraged you to pick up a needle and thread, even if you are not super experienced, even if you're not a professional, and even if you've never done it before. I hope that this gives you motivation to just give it a try. So thanks so much for being here. We'll see you next time.
My heart